Hello YouTube! This is going to be a video in response to Gerard, WolfKang1, who broached in one of his recent videos the topic of education and how it currently achieves the exact opposite of what it ideally should. Now most of this is going to be anecdotal, it's going to be based on my own subjective experience of education and also on conversations that I've had with other people on their experiences. I am absolutely aware that my own experience is not universally applicable, and that others have obviously had very, very different experiences. Now, I'm of the opinion that school should have been very pleasurable for me. I was naturally academically inclined and quite creative. Unfortunately, it wasn't. In fact, if as and when people ask me what the darkest time in my life thus far was, and they sometimes do, I've got some weird friends, the answer is easy and unambiguous. It's school. From beginning to end, first day to last day, school. And it wasn't because I was bullied or anything to that effect. I wasn't, actually. It's bizarre. Technically should have been. I was a prime target for that sort of thing. I was overweight, I was antisocial, not athletic, academic, withdrawn, etc., etc. But no, I was largely left alone by the other kids, which suited me down to the ground, I can tell you. Now the problem was that I found the entire environment restrictive and smothering. I am by nature someone who stands apart and slightly to the side from things, and even when I was very young I had this habit of looking at things from the outside. It's always been like it's always been as if I'm some sort of external observer to things, even when I am engaged within the mechanisms in question. And the problem was that I perceived everything that was wrong, very, very wrong, with the educational system that I was going through. And I also noticed that no one really wanted to do anything about it. In fact, the problems that are endemic throughout the system have become so entrenched that people don't recognise them as problems anymore. They have just become parts of the machine. And thus there's very little initiative or movement to do anything to correct them. Now for me, the way education is advertised to children, I can only speak for the education system in the UK, obviously, that's the only one I have experience of, but the way it's advertised to children is entirely wrong. If a common question that comes up is, why do I have to learn this? Teachers are very, very often asked, why? Why do I have to learn this? And of course the standard answer is, so that you can get a good job. And for me that is entirely the wrong emphasis to place on education. Not only is it hideously restrictive and utilitarian, it's false. It's a false contingency, as anyone who has been through education right up to the higher level, up to university, will know. You are told throughout your mandatory school career that if you go to university and you get a degree, then you have a better chance of getting a good job. And it's not true. In fact, postgraduate unemployment is at the highest it's been for many, many decades in this country. And speaking personally, I'm still doing the job now that I was doing when I was at university, and I have no particular problem with that. I like the job that I do now. But I got it not because of my academic career. I got it because of activities I was conducting within my neighbourhood, just as a result of characteristics I demonstrated. And besides which, I think engaging with any kind of academic material just because you want a particular job, or you want to enter in at a particular job level, is entirely the wrong motivation. I'm of the opinion that you should only engage with a particular subject matter, particularly in academic terms, because you feel some sort of passion or enthusiasm for it. How about the potential for changing and becoming a better human being, and for potentially changing others? I find that to be an eminently more noble and productive reason for learning something than just this hideous utilitarian, so you can get a good job, so you can become another cog in the machine. But that's the way it's advertised to you. Now, for my money, given limitless resources, time and influence, I would deconstruct the machine piece by piece, abandon those parts that are redundant or damaged, and reconstruct it again from the foundations up. But unfortunately, the education system is now so entrenched that that kind of sweeping movement simply can't happen. If any change is going to actually occur, then it has to do so in increments. And it has to begin with a profound shift in how we regard education and knowledge in this country. Personally, I'm of the opinion that education begins at home, not school. I don't think school has any place interfering with a child's home life, but education certainly. A lot of responsibility for education lies with parents, not with teachers. Certainly with regards to things such as morality and ethics and beliefs, etc. That has no place in school. There should be no lessons dedicated to social integration or anything to that effect. That should be a parent's responsibility or a guardian's responsibility. No one else's. And I'd also argue that basic skills such as reading, basic mathematics skills, etc. are also a parent's responsibility and not the schools. I would also make the point that, generally speaking, it seems to me that the problems within schools, within institutionalised education, are generally not the faults of individual members of staff, although there obviously are many problems with certain individual members of staff. They are problems endemic within the system itself. When you have classrooms full of 25 plus children, all of varying different levels of ability and comprehension, then whatever lesson you conduct is inevitably going to fall short of the mark. You cannot possibly give each one the attention they require. And the upshot of that is that the less able students become very frustrated and develop a sense of self-recrimination and a lack of self-worth, and the more able students equally become frustrated and feel as if they're being held back. You then of course have those rather hideous cultural elements within that have become established and enshrined within comprehensive education that are entirely negative, that you wouldn't accept outside of the schoolyard. Things like hideous tribalism, victimization, etc., etc. And tribalism is definitely a problem within schools. If you go into any playground, you will see the different factions, the different little tribes and gangs. And not only is nothing done to combat this, it is to a degree mandated, because it is just something that happens.